people and grab some seats, that would be great. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes, so just grab a seat, make yourself comfortable. For people with signs in the back there, if you stand against this wall, we'll see it. Aloha, I just want to welcome everybody here. My name is Stefan Yost. I'm the director here. Stefan is what everybody calls me here. And I just want to welcome you here to the theater. The way tonight's going to work is I'm going to do a brief introduction. I'm going to have the mayor really also say a couple words. The goal here is to listen to people, to hear, to get ideas out on the table. And Georgette Deemer, who's the deputy mayor, she's volunteered to take notes so that she'll be our note keeper for this evening. So I'm just going to start with a little introduction that I wrote, and then after the mayor speaks, I'll talk to you about a little bit about structure or format that we might do to make this run smoothly. This is about Thomas Square. In 1843, the property that is today known as Thomas Square was named in honor of Admiral Thomas by King Kamehameha III. It was dedicated by him as a public park in the memory of the restoration of the Hawaiian Kingdom. That's a really important baseline. The park has a rich history. Some of it has been shown on the slides here this evening, but I'm quite confident that I am not the person to tell that history, and this institution, the museum, is not the institution to tell the history of the park. Indeed, the park was around for 80 years by the time this museum was founded. It seems to me that there's many other organizations and people, particularly within the Native Hawaiian community, who will be much more suited to be able to talk about that history and to frame that history for everybody. It's clear that the park is one of the most important historical places in Honolulu. The park has served many uses and gone through many periods of decline and rebirth. This is not the first time the communities got together and decided to do something to improve the park. The royal family took great interest in the park in the 19th century, and it seems that contemporary society at times has fallen way short of that. Today, the park is owned by the state of Hawaii, and it's administered by the city. I'm pleased that the governor and the mayor are interested in greater investment in the park. I hope that all interested parties here are interested in developing a vision for the future of Thomas Square for the long term. Not for next year, not for the next 30 days, but really, what do we want this park to be for our kids or our grandkids, etc. Let's all remember that the park was given by a king and dedicated as a public park in the memory of the restoration of the Hawaiian Kingdom. Again, very, very important key historical thing. Perspective to look at. I'm going to just go right into introduce the mayor of the city and county of Honolulu, Kirk Coleman.
Good evening and aloha. Now, I've come here many times to see different types of films, from surf films to gay, lesbian, transgendered films to French cinema, and tonight we have an audience comprised of the people of the city and county of Honolulu talking about our most historic park. It really is smack dab in the middle of our city. It's been here for 170 years. And since then, things have grown up around it that were not here when the park was dedicated with a luau that was held in this area because of the restoration of the monarchy. And Kamehameha III was given back all his full powers by Great Britain. Who had another person come out and say that they were claiming Hawaii to be part of the greater British Great Britain. Now, when that restoration occurred, what happened is Kamehameha III, from this park, walked down to Kaihau Church, where he uttered the phrase, "Umau ke'ea oka aina I kapono," which remains our motto to this day. And it speaks volumes of this place, this island. And I know everyone in this room, no matter where we stand on the position, I know we all respect those who walked before us, long before the rest of us came here. They walked these lands. And I would appreciate that everyone gets a chance tonight, so let's be respectful. People have walked these lands long before we showed up. This park is symbolic of that. And I think that great ideas can come out of a group like this to make this park live again, to speak the history of this place and its people. We're surrounded by great institutions here. We have the Honolulu Museum of Art with some of the best art you'll find in the Pacific region, all sorts. We have Linacona and the great exhibits and art classes that are taught over there for our youth and adults to learn more about art and how to express themselves in all ways. You got the great Blaisdell complex, the symphony across the street. You got the Straub Hospital and Clinic, one of our great health systems. This is an area surrounded by incredible institutions. How do we work with the neighbors? How do we work with the people of the city and county of Honolulu to bring new life to this park? To respect the history of the park and the land, which means we need the input of the Native Hawaiian peoples. And we need the input of the stakeholders in this area. For me, and this is just my vision, I'd like to see it become a culture and arts center with sculpture, Native Hawaiian sculpture, other kinds of sculpture, maybe that rotates through the park. That perhaps you'd have a place where you could sit out and eat. Perhaps patients at Straub could come and sit in the sun and get healthier. These are the kind of things I'm open to, but this is just my vision. This is not about any one person's vision. It's about all of us coming together to figure out a way to honor this place, this very special place, so that it's around another 170 years and gets only better. And that can only happen with the input of many, and coming with a plan that people agree to, and then moving forward. As mayor, I'm committed to do that. That's what we've been doing over the past couple months. Some of it is controversial, and I know any plan is, but I think tonight it's about listening. It's about hearing from each other, writing down the ideas, and then putting them together to see what works. I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, because you could be home. You could be with your loved ones, with your family. You're here because you care about this place. It's the item, but more importantly, the people. So I want to thank all of you. I'm going to stick around for a while, but tonight we have a memorial honoring those police officers who gave the last ultimate sacrifice, their life in the line of duty. They do this every year. I'm going to be down at the legislature for that. So I'm going to be here until a little after 6. I want to hear what you have to say, and of course I'll be anxious to read everything that's put together. I want to thank the Honolulu Museum of Art and Stefan for helping put this together, and recognize, don't beat up on the Honolulu Museum of Art or Stefan. This is about pulling everyone together. Don't get mad at him. He's a conduit for getting dialogue, and he's done an incredible job with this museum. Changed his focus from all kinds of stuff. So I want to thank the Honolulu Museum of Art. Let's give him a round of applause.
So this evening, the way we're going to do it is that we're going to have basically an open mic. I've got a mic here. I'm going to walk around, hang the mic to somebody, they get to chat. We aim to keep comments. Please keep your comments to a minute. We're going to have somebody up here with a bell. They'll ring a bell after a minute, and after 2 minutes, they'll start to really ring the bell. Okay? So I get it. It's sometimes hard to focus. So really just stop and think. If you're going to speak, and I hope you do, just pick up the key points that you want to say, that you want to communicate. And if everybody who's spoken that wants to speak, then we can go in a second round and people can speak twice. That way we just kind of get the things distributed. Also, if somebody says, oh, we should plant pineapple in the field, okay, that comment's been said. If that's your idea again, okay, wait, try not to repeat it if it's possible, although I can't control that. If you're more comfortable writing, or you want to do both, on every seat, there's a note card and a pencil. Write what you want to write. Sign it is better, but you don't have to. And on the way out, there's a basket. Put the cards in the basket, and what we'll do, the museum will write it down, transcribe it, and we'll put it on the Future of Thomas Square website so everybody can see. So if the mayor's not here, if you want to have him see it, put it there. Just get the ideas out there. Small ideas aren't bad. Sometimes they're the seed of kind of the best things moving forward. As people speak, Georgette Deemer, Deputy Mayor, is going to be writing just basic themes, big themes that hopefully we can develop kind of a sense of, here are the 10 things people really care about, or the 50 things people really care It's 6:50. We're going to stop the conversation just because I said we'd go till 7, and maybe spend 10 minutes talking about next steps. What are the next steps? You get a couple hundred people together. Thank you again for coming. It's really important. And then we might want to think about next steps. Social media is a great tool, but not everybody's on it. So, and maybe kind of feedback a little bit. What's the museum's role in this, if any? Before I start, I need a volunteer with a watch with a second hand on it. And their job is to sit right here and ring a bell. Any volunteers? Anybody? Anybody got a watch with a second hand?
Does a cell phone work?
Yeah, sure. A cell phone's fine. Yeah. Do you want to be the person? Yep. You can go by. What's that? Sit right here with the bell. Yeah. You can bring your sign too. When she rings the bell, she's not the bad guy. So that way, just after a minute, just ring the bell once, and after 2 minutes, start ringing a lot. After 3 minutes, start yelling. Okay. Yeah, sure.
What's the fee?
And you can test it on me, because I'm going to read my statement first for a minute.
Give me 1 second.
I'm going to actually just go, we'll pick something random. A bunch of people are trying to signal me. Let me talk first. So, you got it? You want to use mine?
No, I'm just sorry, my technologies.
Okay.
You have one now, I'll use it.
Here's the stop button right here. Okay? Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Okay, so my minute. I'll start now. My role I'm playing today is director of the museum. I'll be direct. We have 3 goals. These are 3 institutional goals. 1 is to have a park that's well maintained and that does justice to the history of the park. 2, as a museum, we hope that art will be included in the vision for the park, but I don't yet have a sense that there's a community consensus that that's the right thing. It may be or may not be the right thing. And 3, here's a little secret agenda. We also hope that there's a master plan for parking for the entire area. Ideally, we would like parking to be centralized at Blaisdell, and then have people, guests to the museum, walk across the park. Of course, the city has a lot to say about parking, but ideally, the guests would learn about the historic importance of the park while they walk through a beautiful, safe, well-maintained park. That's what I hope for. How did I do?
48 seconds?
48 seconds. Okay, great. So we'll just randomly start it. Want to go first?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, to have a planning meeting after a plan has been instituted does not show that you care to listen to the people's input, people that you supposedly, this is the
Okay.
does not show that you really want to represent your constituents. We've already begun some sort of plan by displacing houseless people and protesters from both sides of Common Square, one with planters and the south side with just caution tape and signs that are doing nothing but blocking pedestrian traffic. You barely squeeze those planters in under ADA regulations. 1 wheelchair may be able to pass. What happens when 2 wheelchairs come together in that space with a sign on, or a fence on one side protecting what I understand to be an invasive species bush if you plant it along the edge of the grass, and then on the other side, planters for no other purpose than to displace people. What you've done, not cool. I don't see any aloha in your action whatsoever, and that's it. Thank you, everyone.
So I heard making sure that we don't get ahead of a plan, that the government should wait for a plan developed before they act. Okay, got it. And ADA compliance, I heard. Anybody in this section here? Okay.
On July 31st, 1843, a delegation left the city of Honolulu and walked out to the country. At that place, the British flag was lowered, the Hawaiian flag was raised. It was declared to be a holiday, La Hoi Hoi Em. That area in the country was declared to be a park named after Admiral Richard Thomas. The street, mouth of it, is Britannia, named after Britannia. The street on the diamond side is Victoria, named after Queen Victoria of England. The park is more than just a rendition of a British flag. If you see, yeah, there's the British flag with the walkways, but there's also circles in the center. Those are actually representing the stripes of the Hawaiian flag, and it's reverse of a Hawaiian Kingdom postage stamp installation with a symbolic Hawaiian flag. It does bug me that they walk their dogs and leave their droppings all over Thomas Square. But yeah, it's Thomas Square. Thomas Square, by its nature, has always been a very political place. Just from its origin, it's been a political place. And I think that the Occupy guys should have a place there. It's always been political. It's always been a very Hawaiian place. It has been, it will be, it always will be. And I think before we go around discarding things that happen, this history, you ought to think very carefully about what you're doing with this place. Thank you.
So historical context is key, is what I heard. Also, raising the question whether it's appropriate to have dogs there, among other things. Yep.
Aloha. Aloha. My name is Pono Kealoha. If you want to know a little bit more about me, please Google Pono-size, P-O-N-O-S-I-Z-E. You're a festering pus that's brought on to my subordination. Your capitalism is not welcome here. It's never been. What you represent is globalization, New World Order, and a fucking bunch of bullshit. That's my 2 minutes, man. Fuck you.
So I heard a couple things there. One of them I heard was that sovereignty is a real key question here that I think should be confronted in it. And also that question of how much of this should be about globalization and how much of this is about a local culture in a local place. Is that fair? Right. Next. Yeah.
I want to talk about the EPA.
Okay.
I like you. Yeah. I like this. Oh, God. It's like it's hard for people in schools to access the book. Why don't you make a little concrete area that everybody can go, not only everybody go, every tomorrow, but people who are in future schools. So it's very important to me that they do it in their access. At home.
So what I heard you say is ADA is unbelievably important and that the park has to be accessible. There has to be areas where there's say concrete where everybody who can get in there, everybody should be able to go. Right now it's very difficult to get into if you are in a car, particularly or any kind of wheelchair or any kind of assistance.
Yeah, it's actually difficult for an ambulance to get in. If there should be a problem in that park, those planters block the access to first responders. You can't get a gurney through that. And they put these planters down the entire length of the street. Before coming here, I measured the width. It was 48 inches at the beginning. I'm told that if you walk down there, it's 42 inches. This means wheelchairs cannot pass. The city's going to have to take those planters away. The question is there going to be legal fees that the taxpayers are going to have to pay before they do it? Now, those ficus trees are an invasive species, folks. We're talking about a park that has been around since the kingdom, and when they grow up, and they grow very quickly, their roots can crack the sidewalk. So again, we're talking about taxpayers' money being spent. Now, look over there, $1 million on rains, and then compared to Mayor Corbell's statement about housing the homeless. He's not putting in $1 million to house the homeless, 100 people, 75 people, whatever it is. He's already spent more on the raids, and there's a judge who's going to who's going to say something on Friday about whether or not the city has to stop what it's doing. And then there are going to be attorneys that are going to have to be paid. And then there's going to be a trial. When are we going to come to our senses? Why not just pull those planters out and house the homeless, provide services?
So what I heard you say is there's an issue with the current strategy of landscaping, it's a nice way of putting it, and that there's also, I heard something about invasive species and indigenous species. I think that's a totally interesting, valid conversation. I'm going to keep on going back here for the sense of just moving the audience around.
My name's Walter Belinsky Jr., and I'm tired of seeing a shanty town. We don't want shanty town. This is Hawaii. Respect the land, respect the people of Hawaii.
So Hawaii's only for rich people, huh? It's only for white people, it's only for rich people.
So what I heard you say is you don't particularly think that it should be a place for people who do not have houses to spend the evening or the night.
I'm saying that they shouldn't have tents looking like shanty towns.
Okay, so we should have it very nice, well-kept, organized. So I just, right at this point, I want to say that, again, the idea here is ideas for the future of Thomas Square. This may be part of that conversation, but let's not go back to the issues too much.
No, what other day?
Well, it's not a dialogue. I got to move on to the next one.
Hi, my name is Jackie with the Humane Society. 40% of Oahu's homes have dogs. That's more than 250,000 dogs that share our homes and families. And it's our greatest hope that Thomas Square remains pet-friendly, as a wonderful place for people who are confined in apartments and whatnot to be able to have a place to go outside and enjoy the parks and outdoors with their animals and their family members. Thank you.
So I heard that the pet-friendly aspect of Thomas Square is something that should be preserved. Any comments back here? Nobody? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jack James. I see Thomas Square, I see the promenade at the beginning as having art. I see it as a beautiful area. I think I have a concern as to how many people could get into the park, but I see it as being used by many people. I see it being used as protesters. Now, some of you in the audience may think that's strange for me to say that, but I think there's a place for discourse, and there may be a spot inside the park for them. I don't think the park should be used as a place of residence for anyone. I think it ought to be clean. It ought to have use for everybody, but it should attract everybody. It should have art. It may even want to have a cafe in the center, something to draw you to the center. I think the mayor or somebody mentioned that Straub Clinic could use it for their ambulatory people. Wouldn't that be wonderful that patients could get out of the hospital and use Thomas Square for an hour or so during the course of the day? I think that would be wonderful. So the park should be more inclusive than exclusive, but it's not a residence.
So I heard that you really have to think about this, about many different constituencies using it. It has to be a beautiful place, but also that political protest is an appropriate function, one of the functions of a park.
Thank you.
My name is Roland Lloyd. I think the mayor is doing a very good job of cleaning up Fairtown Street. But in the past, I'm afraid to walk on Fairtown Street. But they have dogs, they have couch. I think the sidewalks should belong to everybody, not in any special interest group. Thank you.
So again, there's a kind of conversation about making sure that the public spaces are clear and people can move through, and that it's again clean and well maintained seems to be something coming up. And this group here.
My name is Sam Mitchell. I'm a member of the neighborhood board in this area. And what I'm really concerned about is that the mayor never talked to the neighborhood board about putting those planters in. And we never had a discussion on any of that stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, they should be all taken down. They're basically there to get the occupancies out of the park. And it's affecting everybody in the park. They shouldn't be there. That should be taken out. The whole issue that's been going on that a lot of people don't understand is it has to do with the law that's put in paddle, which allows them to sleep by the side of the road. Well, we closed that park at 10 o'clock to 5 in the morning. And I actually was the person that made that motion. And I'm really concerned that we should, almost to a point where we should take that down and have it a 24-hour park. And the reason I say that is the law that's under power allows you to sleep by the side of the road, and that's why people are moving on the sidewalks. But they did that because they shut down the parks. So that needs to be changed, and that has to do with the Hawaii sovereignty law. And that's a real important thing in that particular park. And with all the sequester stuff that they're talking about for Section 8 people, they're going to be kicked out of their homes and everything. This might be the only place that they can live. So you may be thinking it's a great park, but we need somewhere where people can shelter if they get pushed out of their homes.
It's an emergency.
So I heard that a 24-hour park where people can have respect if they're homeless is perhaps an appropriate thing. What I also heard right at the beginning was that you're from the neighborhood board. And I think that one thing that's really key, if change is going to happen, all levels of governance need to kind of engage, and also other systems, private organizations, etc. So back in history, do you have anybody?
Ordinarily, my name is Babaka Sam. We make claims that the state owns the land. Where does it say that they own the land? Is it like bullyism or militarism? Because we have Melodia. As a Kanaka Maoli, not as a Hawaiian or a native Hawaiian, as a Kanaka Maoli, we're the ones with the standing here. And that park has a history. The restoration of Hawaiian kingdom. Why the hell is the illegal occupier still here? Restore the Hawaiian kingdom.
So, what I heard again here is there are deep ties of this place to sovereignty. And, again, I started by saying,
again, I'm out of here,
talk about this park without
like you
talking
said,
about
just switch it this way. I'll be right
It
back.
has to do with truth.
But do me a favor, when you start talking from this
The opportunity to be blessed by those that are of this people in the universe is knowing how blessed a spot this is. Ever since the United States arrived here and all other invasive species, you folks have prevailed with lies. Now, this is a very blessed spot in the universe, and that's a fact. And for those of you that don't get with our program, again, there's two ways to say aloha. Aloha, welcome. Now it's time to go.
Hey, yo.
Simply put,
How we go?
Well, whoever you are, you're insignificant to my country. Mahalo.
Then we have a reiteration of the history and the history of sovereignty here. And that contested sovereignty. Is there anybody in this area here? Anybody in this area?
I worked on your campaign both times, and I voted for you, and I'm glad you got in. So I feel I have the right to talk to you.
Yes.
I think it is despicable that in this day and age, we spend millions of dollars to beautify our parks while we have such a plethora of homeless with nowhere to go. I have used Thomas Square Park for a number of years to bring my chihuahuas to play, and yes, there were and are homeless there. They have never bothered me. So I ask you that before you spend millions of dollars on beautification, resolve the increasing homeless problem. Other states have done it, and the first step is to pass a homeless Bill of Rights, like California.
Let's have some sense here.
These are 10 copies I have here of a simple problem and resolutions to the resolution to the problems, and I hope you take it to heart. I am in favor of beautification. I will even help you do it, but not at the expense of human and civil rights and the eviction of the homeless without providing them alternate safe and suitable
Thank
housing.
you, sir.
Thank you for your consideration.
Amen.
So what I heard here was, again, there's kind of one side of the equation that has kind of the beautification and investment in the park, and another is the need for the homeless community to find home and housing. And also what was brought up was the idea of a civil, basically a Bill of Rights for people who don't have homes.
Civil rights.
I'm an artist. I live in Waikiki. I'm a supporter of the de-Occupy movement. I'm a supporter of the Occupy Wall Street movement. There's no amount of pink flowers that you can put on that park or across this city that will disguise the stench. Woo! Stench is disgusting. That can be the theme of my talk. This is a foul, sewered place, and it's clogging up, and it's going to come back to bite you. You cannot put planter boxes in the free speech zone or in a place where human rights, basic human rights like the place to live, are needed. The casino case in Nevada was a perfect example of where a corporation took over the sidewalk and the unions couldn't picket on the sidewalk because the casino said that it was their sidewalk there. Well, the Ninth Circuit Federal Court said that under the First Amendment of the United States of America, which doesn't apply here, by the way, even your own foul government, at least the justice system then, in about the year 2001, I believe, said that the casino had to replace the public forum under the First Amendment, which pertains to free speech. But I'll tell you what laws do apply here. Hawaiian Kingdom laws apply here.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what other laws apply here, if you're not satisfied with that. The United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights apply here. And other international treaties by which the United States and all countries have treaties. You try, put those planter boxes over there, you're going to have to undo basic human rights of shelter and free speech. Plus there's cultural practitioner rights. These are the kind of things where the public needs protection. We have to start claiming our own safe zones. Zones to sleep, zones to speak, and zones to practice cultural activities. I honor the Hawaiians, I honor the Kingdom of Hawaii, I honor the last reign of Queen Liliuokalani.
So I heard a whole bunch of things here, including the question of sovereignty again, what laws, what are the rules of the conversation that kind of come up. Those are just some of them. Do we have other comments here?
Any more lies?
Come on now.
Anybody else want to speak here? All right, there we go.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
I invoke the rights of the kingdom law as a subject and as a royal guard. I do not answer to anybody outside of that. I am appalled by the continued actions and desecration of Hawaii and Kanaka, from all Haole and the few Kanaka that sit on the fence to continually destroy Hawaii's historical and cultural values for the interest of financial gain and benefit, and disregard the host culture's traditional and customary rights and cultural practices. The question we must ask ourselves as people, what will we have done for Kanaka and people 7 generations after 7 generations thereafter and 7 generations after, that our children's children, 450 years from now, we would do well to remember the legacy is not just what we have been given, but what we have give or leave behind. Ua mau, e kea o ka aina I ka pono. It is not the life of the land. Again, I say it is not the life of the land. The real translation is, the sovereignty of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. Kamehameha III gave his kingdom to God. I don't see none of you as God. I don't see the state, city, and county as being God. Who are you to chastise these people? You make money off of their land, off of the Kanaka. 50% of it should go to the Kanaka.
No, 99%. 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. But basically, my issue in basically in 2011 they were the Thomas Square encampment for the Occupy Honolulu. You know, it's funny. They accuse you of occupying Thomas Square, but they occupy the whole island.
That's why we're called the Occupy.
A great statement he wrote. We'll put it on. We'll scan it. We'll put it on the website, so we'll get the whole statement up there too. I do think there's many interesting things that were said there, particularly about cultural history and legacy, and how does the park tell the story of the place, but also what are we going to do today or in the next 5 years that will be remembered in 450 years? Is there a moment here where we can think about this, not necessarily in terms of planter boxes, but what are we going to do that will set up the conversation for many generations? I think there's an opportunity.
Stop oppressing human rights.
Aloha everyone, my name is Blake Walsh. I am a local dissenter and I work with Occupy Honolulu on all my own free time. So, Thomas Square represents sovereignty, which to me is pretty close to autonomy, meaning self-governance and ability to maintain one's livelihood, defend oneself, and produce for oneself. If any of you came down to Thomas Square in the first few months of it, in October, you saw what we did. We built a fort there. We had a kitchen, a library, a commons. We had so much to offer to the people. We had people coming down, holding their own signs, sitting with us, and having coffee. It wasn't until the raids started happening that all of that fell apart. This echoes what is going on here with the United States occupation and the crushing boot of capitalism upon the people on these islands. We're sitting here together, and it's almost as if we're all coming from different perspectives, trying to cater to one another or trying to reach some sort of compromise. There's about 100 of us here together. What is it that we could do together if we only organized our efforts here together as people equal with no hierarchical structure above anyone else? We saw each other as human beings, got together.
Don't use our home as your agenda. We're talking about apples and oranges. Get it straight. And who left you? Get it straight.
So I heard kind of a question about how can we work together, everybody here, to create a vision that is maybe bigger than what we have now. I'm going to keep going down here.
Yes, I occupy the park. I stay in parks all across this nice, beautiful island that I love so much. People call me True Blue because it's the way I live through and through, but everybody's got a great opinion and a great, thank all you people for coming out here, but you know, main issues are maybe I want you up, instead of beautifying, how about a bathroom or a toilet or a sink that actually works? We got one water fountain for the whole park. That's a mile square radius park all the way around, right? It's a mile, right? Of a square park. One water fountain, one toilet. Okay, how many people go to that park and pee and use the restroom? One toilet? Come on, people. Think about other things too. All right, just not who's sleeping on the sidewalk. All right, people need. I've been to parks that have showers and stuff in it. I can't believe this park don't have none of those resources. Okay, and I am a taxpayer and have paid my way in, so a piece of that sidewalk is mine too. Okay, and I would like a bathroom. Thank you very much.
So, big point here is we need amenities that work and that are decent and that are respectful. That's I get that. That's the bathroom. I hear that.
Yeah, that comes before beautification, a bathroom at least. Golly, give me a toilet before you give me some flowers.
Aloha. My name is Andrea DeCosta, and I'm actually Kanakamo'oe before anybody starts yelling at me. Sorry, guys. But I just wanted to think about ways that we might be able to use the park. I know that people are talking about lots of other things, but the planter boxes are also blocking another important part of Thomas Square, and that's those little lawn areas that are just off of Veritania. I see some perma-blitzing in the future for that space. Those two spaces there would be great community gardens. Wouldn't you love to be able to come down to Thomas Square's garden? I mean, if we're going to have other things happening there, why couldn't we do some gardening on that part, not within the park itself, but on the Veritania side? So I think that would be a nice use of that part of the park space. So that's my piece.
So I heard a nice concrete idea, which is, hey, maybe there should be part of the park for a community garden. Maybe the garden and homelessness linked together, like or feeding people who need food.
Hi, my name is Karen Murray, and can you hear me? Oh, I think every civilized society should be providing for their people, whether they have money or not. In order for them to lead a healthy life, they should be providing at least facilities to go to. And in our city, I mean, when I was a kid, we could go in any store and use their bathroom. So that was not a problem, but now everybody is not allowing people into their bathrooms. And so we need to make accommodations throughout the city. I'd like to see of public facilities every other block. I mean, but you can start small, like every 6 blocks or something, provide public facilities. And then the homeless will not be vulnerable to the criticism of being dirty, because they would have facilities and we would be providing for them. Even, I mean, we have heroes like Robin Hood, I mean, but, you know, Robin Hood had Sherwood Forest and they had commons. But we divided everything up because we decided it all came down to money, pieces of paper, whether or not you have a place. But I think we do still need the commons. What would Robin Hood be without the commons in Sherwood Forest? I mean, where would he go for the facilities, you know? Would he be called dirty and homeless? So we have heroes. And we have our cultural arts like Les Miserables, but for some reason when we see it in reality it's not so pretty and nice and we don't want to face it. I think homeless, there should be no such thing as houselessness. And everybody who was born deserves a place to live. And it should not be
So I heard many things. I also heard, like, what's the role of Thomas Square, or a broader infrastructure to help people have human dignity. I heard that kind of basically wrong. Got it.
Got a hand up in the front for a long time.
Right there, front, yes. That's it.
Hello, Bob. I was going to ask you, instead of having that Walgreens coming in Long Green, we should have that building tear down and make some space for the homeless people. And I don't think that we should have it there. We already have one next to like the 4th Street Mall area. And I think we should do a better thing for homeless people. Where's the money for Section 8 housing? They're using it on cleaning up the homeless, keep raiding and raids after raid. I don't think that's right. And I respect the Hawaiian blessing back with the land. It's blessed. It's from God. And I think royalty should have royalty. The land is royalty of some Hawaiians. I think we should leave that alone. We need to tear stuff down. Building things, we're not using the land. We should occupy that. And occupy that for more housing for Section 8. Stop wasting your money and taxpayers' money. Keep raiding, occupy, making for housing. And that'll make no sense. I'll keep raiding after raiding and raiding over Kmart and ISS area. We need to make more housing. Thank you.
So I heard there's a Walgreens going in. There's a question whether that's even a social priority or longs. I'm not sure what the difference is. But the other thing I think the last two speakers really spoke about was income inequality and resource inequality in our country.
Terry Anderson. I'd like to start off by apologizing to all Native Hawaiians and state that we're saying a lot of things up here. We're trying to make decisions, but honestly, this is a nation, not the United States of America. We all pay taxes to defeat the United States of America on a daily basis. And maybe we should think about what we're doing. You know, maybe there's some haoles sleeping on the street because they have thought about what they're doing and they're not comfortable paying taxes and rent to the thief of a nation. So hopefully people will start thinking about sovereignty and let the Hawaiians make their own decisions.
Well, the Nakamau is a different.
So I also heard about kind of, again, who's paying taxes and what are the benefits of it, and also to what degree should we be participating in the current system.
Hi, I just wanted to push back against Mayor Caldwell's framing of sort of who are the stakeholders and the great institutions that surround Thomas Square Park. I think you should acknowledge, the museum, you should acknowledge Frog Hospital, but if that's the only kind of stakeholders that is immediately thought of when we think about who to consult, it's a question of access, and I think kind of begs the question of if we're going to not necessarily get an equitable decision as possible, if that's the thing.
There's a really big question here is who are the stakeholders? There's a full range of opinions in this room, but I do think that's something that we should all probably think about.
There's a lot to agree with you. One thing I have not heard is anything about rental costs. This is something that used to be addressed at high cost of rent. Why? And I'm sorry if this offends the landlords. Actually, I'm not. But anyway, I think we need to look at rent control again as an issue. I know this came up once before, but it wasn't taken seriously. I think that's should be at least a root cause of some of the homelessness. And possibly some kind of a study group to determine if rents are in line, and if they're not, then we can do something about it.
The wrong landlords are collecting the rent.
So the question really comes up with how do we deal with the root cause of homelessness? Is rent control one of those issues, or what's the other strategies to kind of bring that under control? One of the questions I want to just throw out at this point is if homelessness as a problem, or houselessness as several people are saying, is relatively mitigated where it's not such a social crisis, how would you envision Thomas Square? If that was under control, what would Thomas Square look like? All right, you've spoken already. I gotta keep on going. Other people who have not spoken? Anybody back here who's not spoken?
People on the front who've been holding their hands for a while.
All right.
You should come on this side.
My name is D'Angelo McIntyre, and I'm also involved with the Occupy Honolulu. And I keep coming up because it's in the average of truth, but how can you talk about 1843 and not bring up 1893? Next steps? How about the USA give Hawaii back? That's what I would like to see for Congress for the next few years, if you really want to respect the history of that place. And how about the city honor Kanawai Mamalakoi? And last but not least, I just want to make one thing very crystal clear. The city is blocking the sidewalk more than we ever did or want to. And speaking of that, the movement started in November 2011, and we were well out of the way. We were on a piece of concrete that was not bothering anybody. HPD on December 29th, 2011, destroyed our original encampment and forced us to the sidewalk by direction of Sergeant Santos. And we've been there ever since. It's not our fault, it's their fucking fault.
So, again, I heard the sovereignty question come up. I think that's come up a lot. Obviously, that's a key issue. Also, the homelessness, and then the interaction between individuals and the city and the state and rights, basically.
Abuse of authority.
I think if you guys really want to keep Thomas Graduate Home, you don't need to spend money to do it. Donate plants, plant it around the fountain to keep it covered. Or if the city wants to spend money, they can spend it on cleaning up the restroom. That way it's more beautiful, but it's not beautiful.
Part of the comment was, we don't really need to spend that much money. If you want beautiful plants, plant a plant. If you want to clean up a restroom, clean up the restroom. What else would you say? Did I misphrase that?
I'm sorry, I'm nervous, but
Okay.
I think if people want to make it beautiful, just donate flowers and plant it around the fountain to give it color. You don't need to spend money on anything, like the stupid plants.
How about guerrilla beautification? Anybody can do it, they just need to do it. All right. Okay, now we have suddenly a whole bunch of hands over here. Okay.
No, I'd just like to address what we would like to see Times Square like if these other situations were remedied, resolved. I represent hundreds of responsible dog owners who are also registered voters in the state of Hawaii. And we put on many educational events every year. We show people what you can do with a dog, how it can be a better member of your family. This is a central area that needs to be kept as a green space. And again, letting the dog owner public be there, letting the plant people be there, letting the people who have fairs, craft fairs, and the powwow, all of those things are wonderful things that many people can come and see and learn, but the space has to be kept open to the general public, not commercialized.
So the point is many, many different community groups use it. The key to the success of the space, you're saying, is that it's open, it's not commercial, and it's flexible. So whether it's a plant sale or dog owners, it works for them. She's saying it's not that bad right now in terms of working for the dog community.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, great. Other people here?
Good evening. I'm here to get it, clarify my thoughts about it and see what people have to say. Not really coming from one side or the other. In the nature of offering some ideas, I would say, is there a way that some people, not necessarily everybody that wants to, but some people could reside at the park in exchange for helping maintain the park, the restroom, the garden, the plants, keeping it litter-free, maybe providing history information, those kind of things. I know that presents legal kind of liability issues, but I hope in the spirit of cooperation that could be resolved. And then my other point is, whatever plans we do press forward. I hope the park remains accessible to people that are passing through on foot or on a bicycle or wheelchair access. Thank you.
So I heard two really great concrete things here. One is, could the possibility be that somebody who lives in the park helps maintain the park, right? So kind of a resident caretaker. And then the other was just the idea that people need to have access to the park and cross the park. I agree with that strongly. I think that if there's a reason for people to go across the park seems to be more active and alive.
Aloha, my name is Edie Malong, and I'm a resident here in Makiki. I live in this Antipoa. I'm one of the co-organizers for the current La Hoia Hoia celebration that happens every year in Thomas Square. Since occupation, when the holiday was banned, the rebirth of that holiday has been a grassroots movement for over 20 years now. I'm a descendant of Hawaiian Kingdom citizens, both on my Hawaiian side and on my Haole side, and this park is very dear to me for this reason. I understand that it's frustrating that we can't get past the issue of homelessness at this discussion on the future of Thomas Square, but it's because everybody in here knows that this is just a facade conversation to cover up the issue of the problem of homelessness and the problem of the way that the city and county of Honolulu deals with the issue. So it's embarrassing. Above Kanaka Maui, I'm a conscientious human being and I feel ashamed. I was raised in the diaspora in Seattle. I feel ashamed of the way that this city treats homeless people. I never keep in mind that the Occupy, they're cool cats. I met them, I talked with them, we'll talk to them. They're not harmful, they're not desecrating anything. But they're not the only homeless people in Hawaii. Lots of Kanaka Maui are homeless too, and others. Homelessness, Thomas Square is a symbol of sovereignty. Homelessness is a symptom of occupation, okay? That's why we can't have this conversation. That's really what this discussion is all about. Pink hibiscus, a new symbol for the problem of the city and county of Honolulu, our inability to deal with these issues.
So again, I heard issues of homelessness. The point was bringing out like this is representing something much bigger, and also questions how the park serves the big restoration day. What does that look like?
Go bring up the real issue.
Exactly.
I think that one thing that's important to remember is that the Restoration Day, as you say, is not just a Restoration Day. It's very, very important to understand the reason for what was proclaimed there. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. Ua mau, to go on forever. Ke ea. Ea is the life breath of sovereignty that is in every single person, and especially comes from the Aina through those who have that connection with the Aina. And particularly for our Hawaii, which is an independent nation under a colonial occupation. In order for anything to be pono, right? Ua mau ke ea o ka aina, the aina, which gives us the ea, I ka pono. In order to be pono, we must do what is right. The reason that that famous phrase was uttered at Thomas Square is because the British, at that moment, after having done something hewa, after having done something wrong, they did what was pono. They returned the sovereignty to the people. They returned the sovereignty to Hawaii.
U.S. won't do that.
The United States, thus far, has not done so. The city and county, as part of the United States, I appreciate the effort to make a nice place for the people. But without ea, there is no pono. Without air, there is no pono. And without pono, there is no real beauty. Without pono, this means nothing. So the first step that the city and county needs to do, and I want to make sure that this is in the record, I want to see it in the record. The city needs to acknowledge, the city and county of Honolulu needs to acknowledge its participation in the illegal occupation of Hawaii and the human rights of all people. Because that's what our people have always stood for. That's what every one of our queens and kings have always stood for. Human rights, human dignity. And from there, we can make all people good. All people can live together in aloha, in pono, and in ea.
Thank you. Thank you, Lalani.
A question of illegal occupation. We've got the sense that the city and the county needs to get right in terms of the spirit of the park. The spirit of the park was founded with a sense of being right with what is right. And
the U.S.
The U.S. Okay. So there's also a big question. What I heard is there's a metaphor behind that park, and one of the challenges is that maybe the metaphor isn't being fulfilled.
It's not a metaphor.
Or it's literal.
It's a living symbol of air. It's a living manifestation of air. That aina has been dedicated as a sacred place to air, the sovereign life breath of the people and the land together. Forever.
All right. Thank you. Other comments here?
Hi, my name is Elliot. I just wanted to second the notion of a community garden. I think we should prioritize edible plants for beautification and consumption for everyone there. And I hope it could also be a tool for the keiki to learn about these things, and maybe we should cover some of the facilities in the park with alternative energies so they can learn about that too. You're here.
So I heard about the idea of sustainability come up, and I also heard about edible gardens and food, or that's also educational. What is the educational role of this park?
I think we can all agree that those planters gotta go. The past of this park is very important, but only partially as important as the future because of its absolute symbolic importance. It's a vessel for the Hawaiian Kingdom to perpetuate and come back. This is one of the ways you're going to do it by having this sort of statues actually. Also, I really like the idea about the caretaker. I don't know about you guys, but if somebody's going to beautify the park, who are we going to pay to do it? Obviously not the cops, because that's like $1 million. That's a lot. Occupiers could do it, Kanakas could do it, and it could look like the flag. Somebody brought it up earlier that it looks like a flag. I've been to the park for years, never realized it looks like the Hawaiian flag or the British flag. We should bring that out, and that should be a huge central focus of this park. Thank you, John.
So the Google Earth is one of the only ways you can tell it's a flag anymore, just because the past have been so kind of lost. Did you have?
You may hate me for saying this, but I want to see the park again as beautiful as it might have been once. Right now, I'm not saying it's ugly, but it's not a place I would like to bring my kids. It's not a place that has this welcoming feeling at all. Yeah? All I see right now as I drive by is protesting, and that's fine, but constant protesting, or if that's all you're going to see at that park, then I think that the whole aspect of being a public park is lost someplace. It's only serving a few individuals and forgetting the people of Hawaii that may want to enjoy someplace beautiful, that they will want to bring their kids.
There's football over there right now. So I heard that maybe the park isn't performing particularly well right now for anybody. Then that's what I've heard, and that maybe there's people who avoid going to the park altogether now.
That's a lie.
You don't know what's at the park unless you go there.
That's a lie.
Hey everybody, my name is Alex Cronin. I'm with the BYK project. We're trying to make it safer, easier, and more enjoyable to walk, bike, and take transit on Bear Canyon and King Streets. And I just arrived here, so I didn't hear about all the other issues that have been brought up, so I apologize if I repeat something already said. But I think it would be really great if, along with some of the other things that we do with Thomas Square that I'm sure you all have great ideas about, if we integrated with those plans a multi-use path that would connect Thomas and Hotel streets to the park and really make it a very nice place for people who walk and bike or jog to visit the park using those paths. And I think that we could do that in a very historically sensitive manner and integrate that with all the other plans that you guys have such great ideas about. So I just wanted to speak for that particular idea, and thank you all for being here. And again, it's BYK Project, bykproject.com, and facebook.com/bykproject.
So what I also heard here is how does this fit into an overall transportation strategy and an overall vision of how people move around this without being just in a car, right? Other people here?
Hi, I'd just like to make a case that protesters actually serve us all, that they're not a special interest, like has been referred to multiple times. I'm proud of protesters. You know, I don't always protest. I mean, I'm a busy person. I have a full-time job, etc. But I'm so happy that there are people who care enough that they protest. So thank you for all those people who don't protest, who don't have time to protest. When I see you standing there, I feel proud that at least you care enough to make a stand. Because that's a lot more than a lot of other people. I mean, what's the solution? You want everybody to just stay home? You know? No, people should get out, enjoy the park. Yes, and protest at the same time. Why not? We can all do that. So, thank you.
Okay, we have about 4 or 5 minutes left, I think. I don't have my watch on. So I'm gonna just so we know that 3 or 4 speeches will. Here we go. 5 minutes. So the last 5 people to talk, and then we might move to the next. Sure. You want to speak? Yeah. Wait, you've had a chance so far.
No,
Okay.
I just have a.
Yeah, let's keep on going. Let's get everybody. Yep.
Yeah, you document.
I'll be really fast.
Put it in a couple of seconds. I know.
Of all the points that
I
have been made
know.
today,
I don't want to say both.
of all the points that have been made today, there is going to be protesting. There are going to be homeless people.
Yeah, it should be, right?
Until our government, until the government that is occupying this land chooses to pay for homeless people to have a place to live. So if you don't like seeing homeless people in this park, that's too bad. If you don't like seeing protesters in this park, that's too bad. They're going to be here until those changes get made. Go ahead.
So again, I hear an issue here of homelessness has to be is a choice that's not being solved by the city and state. That the choice of not solving homelessness is being made by the government. Okay? Yes. Other people in here? Okay.
Kathy.
I want to thank everybody that.
Hold it a little closer.
I want to thank everybody that's here tonight and speaking out. The gentleman was speaking about protests. Let's look back at the Vietnam War. If it wasn't for the protesters, where would we be now? How many people did we lose? That war was based on lies. The Gulf of Tonkin resolution, based on lies. All millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people killed, babies. We saw it. But it was the protesters out there. Just as these protesters are out here now. Very sorry. Some of us don't get it. We don't need everything. We need to share it. But we have a government that wants to invade countries, killing people, spending our trillions of dollars, your tax dollars. But the homeless, oh God, the homeless. It's a tragedy what we've done to Hawaii.
Real.
We're all ashamed. I'm ashamed when I say the word aloha. Aloha is spiritual. Where's our spirituality? We don't care. We're mean, ugly. We'll destroy people. We don't talk to our neighbors. Even within the groups, we hate each other. Let alone the people that are in charge. They look down on us.
Yeah.
There's the financial world in New York. The financial terrorists in England and New
The
York
bankers.
controlling the monies. It can't go on forever. It won't go on forever.
That's right.
So there are a bunch of different comments there. Partly there's kind of history has shown that protest does provoke social change or can. And also a sense that we need to work on a stronger community here. Somebody want to have the closing word here, and then we'll move to the.
Hello, Kapo. I am Lancelot Haili Lincoln. I am Ku Mo'ali. I am Kamehameha 8. I am a direct descendant of Kamehameha 1. You do not believe me? I have the documents right here. You can look at it for yourself. What you people are doing to my people is very, very bad. What you people are doing to these occupied people is very, very bad. You people, a lot of you people talking about pets and dogs. Jesus Christ. My people eat dog. Think of the people first, pets later. God created all animals for us human beings to eat. Kill and eat. Even you, an animal to eat. You don't believe me? Read about my country where I come from, Macau. We Hawaiians kill people and we eat them. Yes. Believe me. You don't believe me? Go do some Hawaiian studies like I've just done at Kapeolani Community College. This is where I learned these things. And I'm glad I went there. You know, you can talk about these people. You know, we need to house these people. We need to give them homes. We build prisons. You guys kept me in prison and paid $50,000 a year to keep me there. Why? Because I ain't Kamehameha? Why? Because I was a smart Hawaiian? Now, if we can build a prison and keep people there and pay $50,000 a year to keep them there, why don't we just give the inmate the $50,000 to stay out of prison? And give all them homeless people $50,000 to get off the street? Simple solutions. Very easy to do. You can spend $1 million to pay the police to kick these people out of the bar. Food planters, they're complaining about these people, my occupied friends, blocking the sidewalk. Hey, they had measuring tape, and they actually measured to make sure there was room for the handicapped people like myself to get around. Now you have planters there. You cannot get around with a wheelchair. I just noticed that today. This is ridiculous. These things need to change. You know what? How would you like it if my people say you all go home where you come from?
Yeah, we've been telling them 120 years.
Get in the back rent.
Get out,
get out.
Get off of my land. Get away from me. Go back to your own country. And get out of my country. You know, we're tired of you people telling us how to live our lives and what to do. Today I came here to park in a handicap store. I want your name, sir. Right here beside there.
I'm the director, Stefan.
Because they stopped me from parking in the handicap back there, saying they're keeping that for the governor and the mayor. I just got this defibrillator put in. Now you're telling me I cannot park there?
But the governor and the mayor can park there. They're not even handicapped, disabled.
They are.
Bad news, man. I would just but look, my people love our people. And that's why every one of you are here today. Every different color, every different race. The word aloha comes from the coconut tree. In this world you have many different cultures, many different colors. Everyone has killed the beaver to clot their body except for one. Who are they? That is my people, the Kanaka Maori. We do not kill animals to clot ourselves. We only kill them to eat. What you hunt, you kill, you eat. Now you want to talk about walking your pets in the park? Come on, people, let's get real. Let's help the people, and then we help our pets afterwards. You know, when I was a child, a white man killed my dog when I was in the 3rd grade. Yes, my howling neighbor. He shot my dog right in the throat with a 3-pronged spear. Left my dog for death in my head when I was only about 8 years old. How you like that, eh? You know what's so funny? This man disappeared after he killed my dog. But hey, wake up, people. Let's help the homeless and house these people here in Hawaii. We can do it together. We have to live here together because we live in the middle of the world. We are the people of the world. Let's do it. Okay? If you don't like it, and if you don't like what I say, get off my eyelid.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here. Thank you. We've got issues of sovereignty again, and about maybe simple solutions to some complex problems. Maybe more hosing rather than prisons. I want to just wrap up real quickly. Do you want to do the last word? Can you keep it to a minute? Please.
I don't know if I keep this to a minute, but I just want to say thank you to the Occupy for all that you've done at Hawaii Night. I work with homeless. I've been doing it for close to 40 years. I've seen death, many of them, and I have seen births, many of them. I will go home tonight, and we have about 2 more babies that are being born in hospice in the harbors tonight, sometime soon. I just wanted to say that we don't raise our children, those of us who are Kanaka Maoli, but living on Hawaiian homestead. I grew up on homestead, I'm a Hawaiian homesteader. We don't raise our children to live on Hawaiian homestead. We raise our children to survive the streets because that's what they're for them. That is the reality. It's far from truth. I don't know about truth. I just know about reality. We will have about 100,000 very soon Hawaiians living on the street. I hope that you all come to some kind of understanding of what's happening. I am no Joan of Arc. I am not here to be the saint. I am just saying that we have the documentation, we have the data, and we know our children will be on the streets tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Georgette Deemer, just thank you very much for taking notes, and we're going to move to the next steps. The first thing I think, if you can step aside, we got a slide on the screen. Thank you. First of all, is to share your ideas. I think we made a good start. 5 or 6 major themes emerged here, and about 100 other great ideas came out too. We've got a Facebook page, Future of Thomas Square. That works for some people. If it doesn't work for you, there was comment cards you can drop off on the way up. There's Twitter. We're doing hashtag Thomas Square. You can write me, director at Honolulu Museum. I think the key thing is to be a passionate advocate for the better Thomas Square, for a better park, at all levels of government. Government tends to respond to organized voices and organized people. They have money, they can choose to invest it or not to invest it, and my hope is that the governor and the mayor, maybe even federal money, will choose to invest it to make a better place. If the only end result here is better bathrooms that help preserve people's dignity, I think we'll have made a great mistake.
I want better food.
Finally, really go online, learn, educate yourself about the history. Occupy has some great links on their website, which you can get to from, well, a whole bunch of different places, which have essays and articles about the history. So do look at the website. We'll upload your comments, and we'll figure out the next step. If a community group wants to hijack this process, I encourage you to do it.
No one's a kick this flows in my verse to oppose all the idiots who insist it's simply how it goes. Back in 1893, the year was military dethroned, and in prison, Makwilili or Okalani. All of these problems way in my brain. I know, I go insane. Way in my brain, feeling the pain. Cause in 1997, ain't a damn thing changed. No, I ain't no cry. No, I ain't no cry. Music and you cannot handle, and then you wanna shut us up so you start screaming scandal. You say we're fighting for no reason and that we only fail. If intelligence is a crime, then I belong in jail. No more watching the world go by, my friend. Somebody gonna die if I see my tutu cry again. Hawaiian man, Hawaiian land. I rap there for I am, and if you ask me why I rap Hawaiian, then I tell you cause I can. You cannot understand, so you start dissing. The last person that tried to shut me up is still missing. This is the land, so tell me why must we pay rent? If I happen to ignore you, it's because you're ignorant. Pidgin is the dialect that I select when I talk. But tell me, can you walk the walk? You say library, I say library. I tell you why I call it the library, cause that's where they bury all the lies you can't believe. Everything you read, the words of our kupuna is all you really need, and then you tell me that I'm arrogant because I call you ignorant. When it's apparent that you're blaming me for your stupidity, when you should blame your parents. Pilgrims, that's the way it is. Not prejudice, I'm just telling it like it is.